Hello, how are you guys doing? Last day of SFF has been quite exciting. I spent some time at the main festival stage, and I'm so glad to be coming to the other side of Expo Hall to talk about talent, which is very exciting because we have views from different corners of the world here, from Canada to Hong Kong, and you've been here for a while, so it doesn't count. But this is quite interesting. Now today we'll be talking about ingredients for a thriving AI ecosystem. That's very thematic of SFF. But what drives innovation is also talent. And also investments. So we're gonna be covering that part, and also community building, which is some of your expertise. Now, before we get started, let's do a quick round of introduction, maybe starting from Ellis.
Sure, thank you, Vanessa. Hi, everyone. My name is Ellis Odynn. I am here as part of Team Canada this week, so if you have any questions about potentially expanding into Canada, happy to answer those. My background, though, is I was the Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer for a global think tank for many years. I've recently transitioned into a board role with that organization, and I now also offer technology strategy consulting through one of our global technology firms in Canada.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sengmeng. Similar to the previous on-stage panelists as well, I'm from AI Singapore. So my role in AI Singapore, I head up a strategic trust of AI Singapore, which is Learn AI. Even as we groom specialized AI manpowers like the apprentices, engineers, scientists, there is also this very strong need to disseminate and diffuse AI literacy to everybody in Singapore itself. So for AI to properly progress and prosper, we not only need AI producers, AI builders, we equally need savvy AI users as well.
Dr. Miles?
Hi everyone, I'm Miles. I actually wear two hats. On one hand, I'm actually an adjunct professor at Hong Kong University, where I teach a little about AI, big data, and also technology transfer. On the other hand, I also am a founder and CEO of a company called Panellists. So we're a kind of an AI company doing lots of reg tech and legal tech stuff. And we just train machine learning models. We actually analyze human voices, and we tell you how many people are there in the audios, who are they, when did they speak. We also extract human voices from noisy environments, like the overlap speeches and different kind of stuff. And we also analyze people's languages, origins, speaker changes, speaking speed changes, tonal changes. We primarily apply our technologies for regulatory space and also financial industries, where we analyze the trading floors, the sales processes, any complaints, any misconduct or any potential frauds. So that's what we do, and we're working with many of the largest financial institutes in the region, including HSBC, JP Morgan, Citi, so on and so forth.
Vadim?
Hi, I'm Vadim. I work for Vickers Venture Partners. This is one of the oldest and largest venture capital firms in Singapore. 20 years old, $1 billion under management, investing scientific breakthrough globally, including AI.
And myself, I'm the co-founder of Fintech Nation. We have three pillars: investments. We invest through a fund and an angel network in pre-seed, seed stage companies, mostly fintech. We have thought leadership as well, including a Fintech Nation book that was just launched this event, as well as community. So we run a lot of community initiatives for fintech in Singapore. And let's dive into it. Now, I want to go back. I want to start off with you, Miles, first. Coming from Hong Kong, and you wear two hats for Fano Labs, as well as being an adjunct assistant professor at HKU, very reputable as well. You have a lot of exposure to students and fresh graduates in your line of work in HKU. Tell us, what are some of the biggest challenges that they face entering into the AI ecosystem? Or are they even thinking about it right now?
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. So first of all, let me go back a little bit history. So when I look at history back 10 years ago, when our students graduate, special PhDs, we have an AI lab. So when they graduate a PhD in AI, we say, when you go look for a job, do not tell people you're doing AI. Tell people you're doing statistics, computer science, anything, just not AI, because otherwise they're going to throw you out of the door. Because 10 years ago, it was not there. People thought it was a hype, just no job for AI. And now it's completely different. So our students from statistics departments say, oh, I'm doing AI. Our students graduating from computer science, oh yeah, I'm doing AI. And everybody's saying they're doing AI. It's kind of funny how things change, how the market perceived the entire thing. But for our students, there's also all of a sudden we have I think our students coming to school trying to do AI related disciplines has increased by more than 10 times over the past year. That shows excitement. But the challenge also is coming up for our students is when they come and do their job, they realize, first of all, on school level, we say, do we allow ChatGPT in a classroom? So that's number one question. There was like sometimes we say we allowed, and then we say disallowed, and then we allowed again, and we ban again, we allowed. It's going back and forth. Because that creating a little challenge for us and also for our students is sometimes some students, they could become over-reliant on that. They just want to get a start and graduate. But these people feel like if these students come out with that kind of skill, they will actually get outdated very soon in the market because they only know how to use a tool, but without knowing how it happened. And they will actually fail to catch the next wave because whatever we're having right now is based on transformer-based neural networks. That's GPT stands for, like generative pre-trained transformers. But technology-wise, these might change. We might have something better in the future. If they don't, have the skills to learn, they might get in trouble. So that's on one hand, we actually come that. And the other side, we also have students getting very overwhelmingly frustrated. They say, oh, AI is so good. I'm not going to have my job in the future. Why should I study? And they just give up. That's also kind of mentality we're seeing that we're trying to figure out, just don't get frustrated. You still have to do your thing, you still have to understand, because we build AI, we can build this AI today, we're going to build the AI for next generation, right? How about we come in and do the job? But there's also another part of our education we're seeing students getting a little bit challenged. Actually, our professors get challenged, is when we teach like very hardcore subjects, like statistical inference, like very hardcore machine learning, not like using the packages, but fundamentally, what are the theories behind that? And then why the neural network works, why it converges, so that kind of stuff. And discrete mathematics, those are things. Students start challenging us, why do I have to learn those? They start thinking that we don't need it, it's all about remembering stuff, it's hard, it's like they couldn't sleep by studying this. But we kept delivering the narrative in school that these are important because you'll learn this not because you're gonna use it in the future, it's because you train your brains to understand complex problems, to analyze it, and I appreciate the beauty of science, not just be someone who uses the tools. Because eventually think about, do you want to be the one to use the tool today and get replaced in the future? Or do you want to be the one who create new tools in the future? So that's something we've been trying to really hard to do, and it is also kind of very interesting happening in all universities nowadays.
Very well said. I mean, I think I just share 2 points for that. One is, it's obviously getting more competitive with so many students or fresh graduates trying to rush into that field. You really have to understand the fundamentals and the working mechanics behind all these toolkits so that you're not replaced by them. And you kind of ingrain that even back in the education system. But post-school, Sengmeng, you have AI-SG programs, which I think Lawrence mentioned quite briefly. Tell us again a brief summary of what are some of the programs and how was it designed for all these future-proof talents that Dr. Mouse was talking about?
So AI Singapore span across the whole breadth of how you see AI or machine learning. We have research, we have governance, we have a mode of working directly with the government because certain times some of the national AI projects cannot be tendered out because of the data sensitivity or that. So that one I won't go into specific, but given the crowd here, I'll focus more on AI innovations is where we want to create an environment where Singapore as a whole is an AI savvy nation. What does savvy means? It means organizations, people, businesses all understand and know how to harness the potential of AI. So it's not about what is AI, what is not AI, but how do you translate that into, for a business, it will be how do you see the business value of AI? For a worker, a working professional, how do you then see the personal value of AI to me? And of course, for students, is really how am I acquiring skills that make me attractive in the future to land me great jobs or to even create the next startup or that.
But with the pace of tech and innovation moving so fast, how do you ensure that Singapore companies and talents are ready for it and can stay ahead of the curve? Earlier today, there was a panel at the main stage by the Twilio co-founder and CEO about how in like 5-10 years time, AI can be programmed with like OKRs and you can run millions of marketing campaigns at the same time. But for someone who's even like trying to pick it up for the first time and with tech moving so fast, aren't we always going to be lagging behind?
Good point. So coming to that, one of the key signature program we have is something called 100 Experiments, or 100E for short, is where we work with companies to co-create with them solutions which they can put into production.
So commercial ready and, with business model put in mind as well, not just tech for the sake of tech.
Correct. And it must be done in a way where, you see no lack of ideas on PowerPoints. You see no lack of great ideas being transmitted to you. But as businesses, as business owner, you need to see how to integrate that properly to make it work for you. And that's what AI Singapore 100E program does, is over a 7 months period, work with the organization, get them to understand, to be able to articulate what is it that they want AI to do for them. And then we actually assemble a team of AI engineers and apprentices that will build the solutions for them concurrently through Agile, so that at least the best in class comes in, and the companies is at any point in time during the 7 months period understand how it's going to be integrated. And then at the end of it is to make sure that they deploy it. It's not so much about future proofing, but it's more about that you are able to see something, you are able to build it, and you are able to use it, and then you iterate for that. Otherwise, it would just be consuming information again and again. There's this new product that's coming. It might threaten my growth. It might threaten the area of the growth of my sector itself, but there's nothing you can do. Yeah.
While we are here at Singapore Fintech Festival, we are also bringing an international audience of businesses and thought leaders. Ellis, what's happening at the other side of the world with talent development and also making sure that new solutions and innovations are commercial ready, like what Sengmeng was saying?
Yeah, so one of the things we've been doing is implementing programs across our universities, and so that we're not just pumping out academics that can come in and do statistics and data science and stuff. We're coming up with apprenticeship programs, so we're putting these students in formal work placements so that when they're ready to enter the market, they have work experience. They've worked in data-centric companies, AI companies, and they are market ready. So one of the problems that we were talking about recently, I think just on Tuesday here, is that in Singapore, one of the challenges is that there's not enough talent in the mid-management and senior management level in AI. And so that's not a problem that we're facing in Canada because we've implemented some of these things. And I think that we can kind of flip the dial here and start to implement solutions like that and be able to scale the AI sector and build an ecosystem much faster.
Let's move on to the other side of the of this business. You have people building solutions, but you also need capital to fund some of them. So, Vadim, in your team, you are seeing deals that are so complex every day with such advanced technology. How do you make sure that people in Vickers Venture Partners or even your LPs understand what's going on? And how do you screen that when it's very, very new? Is there a training methodology to stay ahead of the curve?
Look, I would step back a bit to the subject of our presentation, talent investment community. So as was discussed, community is here. Capital is also here and ready. So Vickers Venture, Vertex, you name them, everyone is ready to deploy money in AI. So it's a hot subject. Well,
it's true. Like I realize Singapore is really not a capital problem. It's a deal flow problem sometimes. It's so much capital and we're just not deploying fast enough.
No,
right?
Look, we need talent. We need talent.
Yes.
We need to invest in talent. As we discussed at the Levante conference on Tuesday, there is a lot of talent early stage, like Singapore University, Hong Kong University, they churn graduates, they're raw materials for OCBC, etc. But they are not materials for investing in them. So we are investing in teams. We're investing in teams with experienced people on board. So where would we find these teams? So we are looking for people who are ready to move to Singapore as a team. And so use Singapore and capital and environment available in Singapore as a jumping board to become king of the world, not king of the Singapore. So I'll give you an example of another company, not AI related, but another company in our portfolio which is using this method. So for example, it's a group of Indians. They licensed technology from University of California, Los Angeles. They use Singapore for phase 1, Singapore General Hospital for phase 1 trial. But for phase 2, they're going to be in US. So they're using Singapore as a source of capital. There is a very nice jurisdiction to raise money for. and to be a headquarter. But business is global. So we're looking for this type of solutions for AI as well. So if it's a team from Vietnam, team from Canada, would like to move to Singapore, we're happy to invest in them. In terms of talent in-house, look, every other person in our firm is a doctor. I'm MBA, I feel undereducated because we've got Dr. Tan, Dr. Lim, Dr. Chi, so I feel undereducated. So we don't have a lot of...
We're sitting next to Dr. Mouse. Yeah, I feel uneducated next to him too.
So there is no shortage of like a high-level people
Indeed.
who understand what we're doing. There are shortage of targets that we would like to invest.
I see. I think following that, walk us through a bit, for people who are new to Vickers, your investment thesis and mandate, and has that shifted over the years?
We shifted a lot because we are 20 years old and we were growing.
So walk us through that process. How did, what's your investment thesis like maybe several years ago, and how has that changed?
Look, we were investing in a consumer tech. Everyone in Singapore knows one of our portfolio companies is TWG. TWGT is a company from Fund 1.
Didn't bring some for us today?
We sold this company ages ago because we pivoted to become a deep tech focused company.
Okay.
Deep tech focused investor. Why we pivoted to deep tech? Because we realized that we are not so good at analyzing consumer trends. We are much better at analyzing technology because being a doctor doesn't help you to predict whether people are going to use TikTok or something else, but it helps you to predict whether this technology is going to work or not. So we pivoted from being like a consumer focus to become a deep tech focus, AI, life science, new materials. This is what we're doing right now.
From the AISG perspective, is there any programs or ingredients you think is needed for newer companies, especially first-time founders or talents, to make sure that they're capital ready, they're ready to like pitch to regional or even global VCs or angels?
Yeah, I think the thing about leveraging on AI is to see what are new and useful tools coming up, for example, like GPT. And so we have programs called LADP, LLM Application Program Developers, to take advantage of the fact that many organizations are now trying to explore what can LLM and what can GPT does for them. So these are short-term programs which the company can send one or two of their staff to come over here, bring their business problem, access the engineers that we have so that you can rapidly create solutions to make sure that when you see an opportunity, you can capitalize on that. So that's one short program that is sort of modified from our original full 7 months program itself. There are other useful tools that we sort of over the 6 years encounter. Companies are always asking for the same thing: computer vision programs, computer vision models, NLP models, all that. Those we package together in a way which is easy for a company or a person who is a skill developer to access without the need to reprogram the whole code again. And last but not least, AI Singapore also recently announced the Southeast Asia specific LLM. So traditionally, the LLM that you see out there are either very Western language centric or China centric. Sea Lion, which is the LLM, is a 7 billion model, 7B model, which is now released available for companies and application developers to take a look at that. And Sea Lion, which stands for Southeast Asia Language in One Network, will contain trained models that is targeting languages that is Southeast Asia specific, so that when companies or startups that is interested to look at penetrating the Southeast Asian market using GPT solution, that will be a very good foundational model for them to build AI solutions.
Dr. Miles, you are in a position where you are running a company, so you have the business acumen on that front for Fano Labs, but you're also seeing people who are very academic, who are still in the academia route. How do you ensure that they have like the right toolkits, resources, and also access to the right capital in Hong Kong and beyond? And how do you make sure that all these like how do you connect the dots between, like, say, your students and talents that you hone, or even for Fano Labs itself, right, to go cross-border, to raise capital or even clients from other regions in Asia and beyond?
Yeah, actually, when our company started, and we think about like the day one, we used to be like a whole bunch of academia. At some point, just got tired of it. So like try to turn that whatever built on paper into something that's really tangible and usable in the market. So, but the day when we started, actually, we started in Hong Kong and realized, we can't just stay in Hong Kong. If we're going to do this, AI, things we do are kind of an international business. So on day one, we have a mandate. We're going to go international. So we had a little presence in Singapore and also also in Europe as well. So and then there's something that we realized actually for being in Hong Kong and Singapore as financial centers is it's easier for us to access the financial institutes. They have global or regional hubs in Hong Kong or Singapore or both, and then that's actually where it gives us the head start to begin with.
And to give people some context, for Fano Labs, your speech AI company, who are some of your clients?
Oh, actually, we work extensively with the likes of HSBC, DBS Bank, JP Morgan, Citibank.
And for what sort of use cases for those banks?
Most of the time, we help them analyze different kind of conversations. In retail banking, it could be a sales process conversation between a banker and a customer, or sometimes in customer service centers. For private banking, it's definitely between the customer and the banker. Sometimes transactional banking, how they deal with the transaction, and then also on trading floors, how to do the trades. So we monitor whatever this banker talking to the other bankers, or the traders talking to the other traders, or the banker talking to the customer to identify any potential misconducts, any compliance breaches, or anything that might raise an alert. So compliance is actually, it's very big in us. And also, as a matter of fact, we also work with many prosecutors in the region. We're also, our technology, I think we're the only technology provider in terms of voice AI that has ever and can stand in the court and be used as a prosecution process and as a forensic evidence. So that's actually where, when we started, we thought about what we're going to be in a company point of view. That's also how we source talent from our schools and also from other schools that we collaborate with. Is we look at our students, like we say, you have to, as a scientist, we have a feeling that whatever we're seeing out in the market, it's something that we developed a couple of years back, and then you got to see in the market. And then, but AI technology changes so fast. Whatever came out today become a hype, become a buzz yesterday, it will not last for more than 2 years. And then you will be gone. Something else is going to take it over. The only way for us as a scientist to continue to be productive and continue to be useful is we solve new problems. We do things faster, we solve harder problems. And more importantly, as we see over the past couple of years how fast AI develop, I'm starting getting a little bit concerned. I'm a bunch of researchers got concerned about our own developments, our own creations. And I start looking at how should we regulate the technologies. And that's where we start looking at the regulation part. And nowadays, we actually are developing technology in the sense that we don't just say we're getting better. We also understand why is it getting better, what's happening behind the hood. So that's why, and that will give us the capability to stand in the court and explain to the judges and juries why it works. And when the AI makes the statement that this is, our machine says this voice belongs to that person, and he was part of a fraud, for instance, and here's why. And to what extent can we trust AI output? So that's where we look at the future of technology development. It has to be technology development in the future will have to come together with the legal system. You cannot, over the past decade or so, it's like technology develop yourself, laws you don't care, like they do their own path. 5-10 years later, laws catch up and then put someone in jail, or they just call a stop. The regulators say we're going to stop this stuff. I think that would not be the case in the future. In the future, I think somebody has looked back to how about we develop our technology. Well, on day one, we have laws and regulations in mind, and then we're going to have an easier time dealing with the government, and then we'll have an easier time make it safer for us in general. And that's also...
You make it sound scary. It's like, a Minority Report.
No, we don't do that. It's actually what we do is actually mostly really on the, on the good guy side. We do lots of stuff. It's try to make sure to catch humans' mistakes, to make sure that whatever we're putting is actually put in proper use. And funny thing is also the way we educate our talents is I have I take lots of interns from different universities. Every year we have like 10, 20 interns from across the globe, from Ivy Leagues, from some of the top schools in the US, in the UK, and in Singapore as well. So every year they come to us and we train them actually on school level and also in industry level. Because one thing I think our education needs to improve, which is something that I've been talking to my school president a little bit. We'll see how it goes, right? One thing that our education is still kind of lagging behind is we're teaching lots about technologies. We're teaching some use cases. But most of the professors who are teaching the use cases, they're not practitioners. They've never done this before.
I 100% agree. My back in school in National University of Singapore, my favorite lessons were those who had day jobs in tech companies, in blue chip companies, and they bring very relevant real experience. You're not just using an HBR case from like 10 years ago. 100% irrelevant. So I 100% relate to what you're saying.
Yes, and the thing is, one thing we're trying to do, actually, the way there's a program we're working with our school is, how about we do a combination of the two? So students spend half the time in school, we teach them the classic materials, the mathematics kind of stuff. Spend the other half working with our industry. Come to an internship. I will give you a proper kind of a mentors. Like they're all doctors, been in the industry for 10 years. They know exactly what's going on. And these are guys who come in with not only knowledge on technology, but also exactly industry perspective on to what extent will the technology fail. I think most of the time nowadays when we look at technology, it's not about when it works. It's thinking about what happens if it does not work. Do we have the proper measures to, like, first of all, predict when it's going to fail, or have mechanisms to capture the failure cases and figure out workflows and processes to make sure the failures will not propagate down the workflow, will not cause catastrophic failures in the system. So those are things that you can't do it in school because school doesn't have the kind of scale for you to experiment with.
So you touched on quite a lot of moving parts for this AI ecosystem to work, right? You have your companies, your startups like Fano Labs, you have the regulators, you have education institutes, and Ellis, you sit in the middle at Digital Finance Institute where you're in between capital and policymakers and so many different parts and from public and private sector. How do you be the node in between to create conversations, keep it transparent so that everybody is progressing together at the same pace and people can exchange notes and resources in DFI?
Well, I think part of your question comes down to actually like building community, right? And we talk about that as like one of the ingredients for a thriving AI ecosystem, but every single person in this room has a part to play in developing an AI ecosystem. And so whether that is connecting dots for other companies, investors, founders, entrepreneurs, other people that you meet in the ecosystem, and making sure that you're creating alignment for growth opportunities, or coming to events like this, right, and talking to policymakers, talking to people who are in industry, talking to people who are in academia, and getting an understanding of how this could benefit your business or what a use case might be for you. And there's just so much in this space, right? Like people are talking about how generative AI is new, but it's not that new. Data and data science has been around forever. Generative and predictive AI has been around for a very long time. It's just being rebranded, and ChatGPT is the hottest, newest thing, and hopefully all of you have used it, and hopefully all of you at this point understand how to use it and leverage it to your advantage and use that in the business world, because I think that that's where we're going to see a lot of growth, is using these new technologies to get our own businesses ahead, right? And those are the ones that are going to start to thrive, is when you can incorporate this technology into your day-to-day life. But I think the community building is really important. It comes back to talent, it comes back to investment, it comes back to having collaborative organizations, because we see that like the communities that are collaborative with each other, right? Facilitating partnerships amongst companies, connecting banks to tech companies, connecting other, you know, like the big tech companies to the small tech companies to see how you can leverage those partnerships. That's when we start to see the ecosystem thrive.
So bringing a community together is step one, right? But then we also have to start talking about getting some real actions and realizing results after you have formed this community. So what are some of the metrics that you measure to know that you have fruitful outcomes out of this community that you have built?
Well, you're going to start to see the scaling of the companies that you have, right? So if you have a lot of little startups, if you don't have a supportive collaborative ecosystem, they're not going to be able to scale. They're not going to grow. They're not going to have customer acquisition. They're not going to be getting investment, right? But if you do have a collaborative ecosystem, you have the right dot connectors, you have people that are pumping money into the ecosystem, you are going to see them grow. They're going to be hiring. They're going to be bringing in foreign talent. They're going to be developing local talent. They're going to be pumping out really, really great technologies. And on top of that, you're going to have users and clients that want to buy these technologies. And so that's kind of what we can look at.
And what about you, Sengmeng? What does that North Star look like to you after so much resources and programs that AISG have planned?
Well, I would
Putting you on a spot.
So she mentioned about capital and growth of the companies. Are there anything else in this like North Star of the wonderful AI ecosystem that Singapore is working towards?
So here's a weird answer from me. AI Singapore was funded 6 years ago because we need a way to jumpstart so that companies, organizations, governments, government leaders, all that. I think our North Star will be the day when AI Singapore shuts down and it's not required. You will have you will be attaining an ecosystem equilibrium where you do not actually need specific government intervention just to keep things going. So there's a weird answer from me, but that's how I feel.
The better you work, the faster you work, you're out of job.
Actually, that's quite interesting because the World Bank president was saying that his goal is that people and countries need less and less money from the World Bank. It means that you are self-sustaining as a country, and during crisis time, you don't need so much resources from folks like the World Bank. And the same thing back to you, right? The moment when companies don't need as much help, talents, companies can make their own revenue, they can train their own talents, hone their own skills, and rely less on AI Singapore. I think that's when we have reached a level of maturity already, right?
Agree, yeah.
And before we open up the floor to questions in our last 10 minutes, so do get your questions ready, and we'll pass the microphones around to you. I just want to ask one more question for each of you before we take questions from the floor is, following up from both of your points, what does a conducive fintech AI ecosystem look like if we bring it back to the team of fintech? And what is something that you have not seen yet, either in Singapore or your respective countries? Maybe Vadim, you can share some light.
Look, we are not looking for ecosystem because we are very practical people. We are putting 5 to 10 million per company when we invest in, so we are looking
winners and losers.
We're looking for winners, and we're looking for winners who are producing something already. So obviously these winners, they grow out of ecosystem. We need this ecosystem. We need this like a brewing pool, but we're looking only at the results.
Okay, and what's the journey like, and how do you bring value to your portfolio companies, especially companies in like AI or fintech?
Look, we can't bring them value in terms of technology because we're investing in people the best in this field.
Of course.
So we're helping them bringing strategics on board. We're helping bringing Alibaba invest. We're helping bringing Baidu co-invest with us. We are mapping exit strategy, but we can't help them in terms of growing technology.
Dr. Maus, what about you? What does this conducive AI ecosystem look like? What's something that you think is still missing or can be improved?
I think in general right now, when we look at the ecosystem, we need the talents, we need the markets, we need a place to train these talents, we need a place for these talents to really create values. So in the ecosystem, when I look at it, I spend half of my time in Hong Kong, half of my time in Singapore nowadays. And then when I look at it, the way I spend the time looking at the industry is, there are lots of talents coming out of the school at the moment. There are lots of demands from industries. We need AI talents. But the missing part is, what are we going to do with the talents? What kind of value are they going to create? That's where I see it's a big gap actually right now. It's like everybody likes to explore. But it's really like headcounts for exploration. But eventually this exploration will end. Like people say, give me the return on investment. Give me the ROI. I hire so many people. But for what? I spend so much money on AI. But for what? What is the value for me?
Then we see the same trends in Web3 last year before. I mean, I'm in the Web3 space and on the startup side, and when I see news of, say, Disney and Meta doubling down, hiring a lot of Web3 talents, and then during the bear market, firing the whole team. And the whole team's gone, like the whole Metaverse team or Web3 team's gone. Do you think that's going to be a possibility when maybe AI is less buzzy?
Yes, there's a possibility for that. So that's why I see the entire community, like especially for most of the leaders in the industry, be it from the professors or being from industry leaders or government leaders, that's part of our agenda is look at what's going to be the real value and doesn't sustain the talent pool that's pumping in the industry. That's where we're focusing on. To be honest, we don't have a clear answer at the moment. And honestly, there's so many AI companies out there. We're doing AI, but I also have my mentees doing like younger AI startups, and I have my fellow. There are big, giant companies doing AI, putting a huge AI department. And not everyone, honestly, is creating real value. So many of them actually are still exploration stage. And I think that's something we need to solve. And that's going to be a key missing piece at the moment. I'm not saying it would be bad. Could be, like eventually figure out a big demand, and there's just like all the towns will have a place to put them. But it is also like there's a little uncertainty in there, and that's also why. Funny thing is, I teach AI, but I sometimes try to discourage my students. Maybe you should consider doing something else in the moment.
Really? You teach
Yes.
AI and you tell them to do
Because
something
especially
else?
like fresh students, they are 4 years from graduating. 4 years later, maybe this is no longer hot. Just like if that's the case, what are you gonna do?
I guess your role as an adjunct professor is also to give them a taste of reality.
Yes,
right?
that's part of my. So that's why
Bring them back to ground.
some of my colleagues don't like me so much because I sometimes give them like really honest and not so bright answers. But also sometimes it helps because they give the students a reality check. Like you make sure you really have a passion for it. It's quite important that we want to make sure students and parents, you don't just do it because it's hot. If everything that's hot, it'll be cool in the future. It's just a matter of when, right? It's just what's happened in the history. So, but the thing is, you need to figure out that's really something you're passionate about. It's something that you know that's going to create some value. And then it's the value that's going to last. It's not about any piece of technology.
That's a very good point. I really appreciate that. Now, we still have a few minutes on the clock left, and we'll like to open the floor up for any questions. Do raise your hand, and my friendly colleagues will give you the microphone. I know in Singapore we're very shy, but it's a Friday afternoon, and we have a wonderful panel over here. So, any questions? Okay, we got one over there. Thank you. Introduce yourself too.
My name is CJ. So currently, I'm the global VD for a Chinese AI firm. We're trying to expand to Singapore as well as Southeast Asia. So I just want to say thank you so much for such a balanced panel. I think the perspective offered from community building to governmental institutions and technical talents and finally the investment perspective was really well-rounded. I felt that what Dr. Mao said was very important. It was very fantastic. Getting into the AI space now, especially for fresh grads, perhaps is already a little behind the curve, right? So I wanted to ask what, in his opinion, seems to be the trajectory of these industries. Would it be in, verification of, identity and things like that? What would be the future?
So let's go down the narrower and deeper into like sub-segments maybe. Any comments from anybody?
Maybe I'll get a quick one. First of all, I don't like to be an oracle, so I would not make a prediction of the future. But in general, I like to be, nowadays when I run a business, I like to be more practical. Like, what's going to be future like? We don't know. It's going to be better for sure, unless we kill ourselves. Otherwise, it's going to be better for sure. Better, more technologies, more robust, more available. That's in general, yes. But they're not for any like verification or whatever that is. It's really come down to the specific problem you're trying to solve. And solving the problem, what kind of problem value you're going to bring out to the society or to your client by solving the problem. And more importantly, there's also part of stuff we see in the market where lots of LLM-based projects failing is because it's bringing values, but the cost of bringing a value, actually, it's more than the value they brought. Especially the cost of running LLM, the cost of maintaining that kind of stuff. So those are things I would more like to be in a position where I would say, just be very cautious about what you're trying to do. Like do your math, like have a critical thinking. Like it's not about just you have a Gen AI just gonna solve every problem. No, like the people solving the problem are us. It's not a machine, it's not a tool.
Any other add-ons?
Look, from my opinion, AI going to be a commodity. It's like electricity or internet. So everything will be run on AI. The main question will be how you're going to make money out of AI. For example, we invested like 5 years ago before all this GPT chat hype into AI company for drug discovery. So they just screen drug candidates and like making predictions. Okay, there's a better chance. Look, average time for drug drug discovery, to get drug approved, like 8 years. So if they speed up by 2, it's huge improvement, huge savings. This is a practical AI application.
Yeah, everybody will eventually have access to an abundance of intelligence, right? But how do you create the most business value and commercial value out of it also, and also for people? Now, before we end off, if you were to write a WhatsApp message to someone who doesn't know anything about tech and AI or fintech or anything, and you want this person, could be your mom or dad or your kids, to be involved in a thriving and fast-growing AI economy, right? An ecosystem. What is this WhatsApp message going to be? Like, what action would you want them to take? A very short message.
Maybe I'll start if you don't mind. Well, actually, I already did it for so many times for my, my classmates or my mom parents. It's very simple. I'll give them a link. Try this. Tell me what you think.
A link of what?
A link to ChatGPT or whatever we're trying to sell them.
So basically,
Try
them
it.
like hands-on,
Yes.
interacting with the tools and
Yes.
get the hands dirty first.
Exactly. So I think most of the time it's like people get scared about technologies because you're not moving ahead. Try it. You get your mind, and then maybe you have some thoughts, and we discuss. Typically, I think the way I like to go things is really introduce new top ideas to people. Is just I give it to you, try it, and tell me what you think, and then we have a discussion, and then where things will start happen.
Yeah, it's a very smart approach. Yeah, because if people don't have a clue how you're supposed to start explaining to them, so try it, understand that you can't use it without you, so and then you will explain to them. Yep. I will copy his message.
You copy it.
Resend it.
Go for it. Ellis?
I think even just to build on that, like fear comes from misunderstanding and from inaction. And so you can cure that by just trying and interacting with technologies, right? Getting a basic understanding of how they work or how they can benefit you. But I think like this whole week, we've touched on AI in finance quite a bit, right? It's a fintech festival. But AI is sector agnostic. So it's not just for financial services. It is for life sciences. It is for energy. It's for oil and gas. It's for ocean. It's for agriculture. It's for defense and everything. So there's no limit to what AI can do and how it can be incorporated into a business, into every business. So I think we just kind of need to look at it also from that lens, is that it's almost an add-on to every single business instead of just one technology.
Absolutely. It will be like electricity.
So to add on what Ellis said, don't think AI, think IA. Intelligence augmentation. So think of AI as a tool to augment your intelligence, to augment the ability for you to do things. So I guess the whole notion about AI, in fact, AI itself, we shouldn't be even discussing AI as a totality. AI has so many facets. In terms of talent, you should be looking at AI users, AI adopters, AI builders, AI creators. But as a whole, I would say perhaps it's a good narrative to start thinking about AI is a technology, but the approach to using AI is actually IA, intelligence augmentation.
Interesting. Actually, that's a really good way to kind of summarize and to end off this conversation. I think just to condense a few parts, there are so many moving pieces from training talents, making sure that they have real passion and conviction in AI as a field, and giving them a reality check back from back when they're still in school, into going to apprenticeship programs, things like AISG kindly offer as well, to make sure that they're ready for the real world, bring commercial value. And then next step, of course, being capital ready, making sure that they're ready to speak to investors, and that they bring real business value. There is like a trajectory, not just in terms of technology, but business and value creation as well. And then the last bit also is to bring different parts of the ecosystem, from your regulators, governments, investors, talents, private sector, public sector, all together to have transparent communication so everybody can find progress. It's not just private sector progressing 50% and the public sector progressing like say 10% with the help of AI, but everybody should have good conversations, transparent conversations to progress together as a whole ecosystem. Thank you so much for your time. Let's put our hands together for my wonderful panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.